Alright boys, today's video is gonna be Amazon cheap parts that you can run that actually work. Let's get into it. We'll start things off here. This is an Amazon catch can. It's baffled and I have some 10AN line to it. Jag sticker just for show. I've been running this for 2 years. It comes with a drain on the bottom and it actually comes with a little bracket that I modified. Works like a charm. We'll move on to Mac valves. So you can spend a lot of money on Mac valves for name brand. These on Amazon, 30 bucks. Got two of them there. And then we come around to inside the cab and we got ourselves another one for the shifter. Move on to intercooler piping. I think I spent around $125 on it. And these rubber boots and clamps are surprisingly good quality. I'm at around 15 pounds of boost currently. Never blew a boot. And then as well as this boot right there. And again, the Chinesium Amazon clamps, we'll call it, work like a charm. I searched up Amazon for downpipe. Gave me a couple different bends. I cut it. Again, Amazon clamps and pretty decent quality. Pretty thick too. I was able to weld it, didn't burn through. Weld on that O2 sensor bung. Perfect. We're going to move on to some wiring. Relays. I have multiple relays in this truck to run everything. Got them off Amazon. I think it's 20 bucks for a pack of 5. I got them for my compressed air right there. I got them for my secondary fuel pump, my primary. You name it, I'm using them. Works like a charm. No reason to spend big money on those. Then if you look down inside there, that valley cover there is some Chinese brand right off of Amazon. Wicked cheap. Not bad there. And then the same brand over here for the vacuum block. Wicked cheap on Amazon. Works like a charm. No need to spend that money on that big name. So we're going to come over to the throttle cable. Same exact thing on the throttle cable. 28 bucks on Amazon. Works like a charm. Great quality. Fits perfectly. Things I would not recommend getting from Amazon, eBay, cheap stuff. Fuel system. Just kidding. Regulators you want name brand, but fuel line. Evil Energy fuel line. PTFE for E85. I got it in the whole entire truck. I've had it in for a few years now. Never a single issue. Great quality with the fittings. I mean, be a little careful when you're tightening them. You're not supposed to crank them down anyways. The paint stays on them if you use the correct wrench. But fuel pressure regulator, I would stick to name brand stuff. You don't want that blowing apart and shooting fuel all over the place. The fuel line I know is great quality. Fuel filters even, I use those as well. Come down to the turbo, manifold, and crossover. Right off of eBay. Chinese, super cheap. And the only thing I would recommend doing with those is you want to trim around the castings on the inside and the outside, because the outside is hard to get the spark plugs in because the casting is so crappy. And then on the inside, you want to kind of deburr them because you don't want a chunk of that going through into the old turbski. Intercoolers. I would not cheap out on intercoolers. Get a good intercooler. You don't want your intake temps going sky high at the end of the track or end of a fat burnout. That's going to hurt your motor. Don't cheap out on that. You got fuel rail and crossover line. Amazon. Absolutely decent quality. Don't cheap out on injectors. You cheap out on injectors, they're not going to have all the same flow rate between them. Hurt a cylinder, hurt a piston. Don't mess around with cheap fuel injectors. But the fuel rails are off of Amazon. Got oil feed for the turbo. Amazon. Perfect. Never had a leak, never had any issues. I'm actually pretty sure that this flange is also off of Amazon. And then any of these little fittings for boost control or vacuum or any of that, on Amazon. Super, super cheap. I'm pretty sure I have a bunch of them in here in the toolbox still. Get a close-up on those. I mean, great quality. Even come with a little thread sealant on it. Pretty sure that one was used, yeah. So, never had those leak either. And I have 60 PSI going to it. As shown earlier, this onboard air tank right here, I have 2 of them. I have one in this truck and one in my daily. Fill up tires with it, everything. I've had this pump for about 2 years now. Works just like the day I bought it. That's about $120 there. Comes with all the fittings, regulator off of Amazon again. It was like 30 bucks. Comes with a shut-off switch and everything. Fuel pumps. Don't cheap out on fuel pumps. Cheap out on the fuel line and the fittings, but not the fuel pump, not the regulator. You want quality stuff there. You don't want to run out of fuel. That's for sure. That concludes today's video. Short and sweet. And that proves you don't have to spend a bunch of money on all the name brand stuff and still get quality parts. Just be careful what you buy, pay attention, and use your best judgment. If you blow your stuff up, that's not my fault.